The arrival. The night sky above Earth was quiet and calm. Millions of stars shined brightly, unaware that something unseen was moving among them. Far beyond the edge of the moon, a giant alien warship slowly entered the solar system. Its black surface absorbed all light, making it almost invisible against the darkness of space. Inside the ship, hundreds of tall warrior women stood in perfect formation. They were the Velara, one of the most feared warrior races in the galaxy. Known for conquering planets in days they had never faced defeat, their leader, Commander Zerathia, stood at the front, her golden armor glowing softly under the ship's lights. She stared at the holographic image of Earth, a small, blue planet, fragile, weak. "Look at them," Zerathia said, her voice cold and proud. "These humans live in tiny cities, fight with primitive weapons, and still believe they are important. We will take this planet in a single day." Laughter spread across the hall. The Velara warriors raised their plasma spears and cheered. To them, Earth was nothing more than another trophy. But in the corner of the room, an older alien, Advisor Threx, stepped forward cautiously. His face was serious, his voice low. "Commander," he said, "I must warn you. My research on this planet shows strange things. Humans are not as simple as they look." Zerathia turned sharply, her golden eyes narrowing. "Strange? Advisor, they are primitive apes. What could possibly be strange about them?" Threx hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "Every time another alien race tried to control them, something unexpected happened. They fight differently. They adapt. They survive when they shouldn't. I believe there is something dangerous hidden here." The hall went silent for a moment. Then Zerathia smiled faintly. "Dangerous?" she whispered, almost amused. "Good. I enjoy a challenge." Earth notices the arrival far below. On the surface of Earth, scientists at the International Space Command detected something unusual. Alarms echoed through their underground base. Monitors flashed red. Object entering near lunar orbit. One officer shouted. "Size?" the commander demanded. The officer hesitated. "Large. Very large. Sir, it's bigger than anything we've ever seen." Within minutes, governments around the world went into emergency meetings. Fighter jets were readied. Satellites tracked the approaching ship, but Earth didn't fire, not yet. They sent a message instead. A simple transmission was broadcast in every major language. "To the unknown vessel, we welcome peace. Please respond." Inside the alien ship, Zerathia listened to the human message and laughed softly. "They still hope for peace," she said, shaking her head. "Pathetic." She turned to her warriors. "Prepare for descent. We will show them who owns this planet. The mockery Ayaz." The warship descended into Earth's orbit. The Velara warriors gazed at the planet below. They mocked everything they saw. The green forests, the vast oceans, the small cities glowing in the night. "Such a weak little world," one warrior said. "They still burn fuel like cavemen," another laughed. "They will kneel before us before sunrise," Zerathia declared. But Advisor Threx stood quietly at the edge of the deck, his unease growing. Something about this planet bothered him. Its history of resistance, its mysterious disappearances, of invading fleets and strange energy readings from deep underground. Nothing added up. Still, he said nothing more. Zerathia's confidence was unshakable, and the Velara never doubted their commander, a warning from the stars just as the ship prepared to break through the upper atmosphere. A faint signal appeared on their scanners. It wasn't coming from Earth. It came from farther away. A heavily damaged alien probe drifted through space, its systems barely alive. A broken voice crackled through the speakers. "If you hear this, do not land. Earth is not what it seems." The message, cut off abruptly. Zerathia frowned but dismissed it. "Old data," she said. "Ignore it." Advisor Threx, however, couldn't ignore the feeling crawling up his spine. He had heard rumors before, whispers among other species about something dangerous hidden on Earth. Something not even the Velara understood. First glimpse of the enemy, As the ship's shadow finally touched Earth's clouds, the warriors prepared, their weapons. Plasma spears charged, shields activated, and battle songs filled the halls. But on the ground far below, a single human soldier stood on a cliffside, watching the sky. His name was Captain Ryan Cole, and unlike most of Earth, he wasn't afraid, because he knew something the aliens didn't. He whispered to himself, "They're coming, but they're not ready." First contact. The alien warship pierced through Earth's atmosphere like a burning meteor, leaving trails of fire behind. Entire cities below saw a strange black shadow racing across the clouds. Fear spread fast. News channels screamed warnings. Military bases went on full alert, but Earth did not attack. Not yet. Deep inside the International Space Command, ISC, control room, chaos ruled. Dozens of officers worked furiously, screens flashing with incoming data. Satellites tracked every move of the alien ship. Distance, 20,000 feet and falling fast, an officer shouted. "They're scanning us," another reported, pale-faced. The commander slammed his fist on the table. "Send another message, we need to know why they're here." A final transmission was sent, broadcast across all frequencies. "This is Earth. We request peaceful communication. We are ready to talk." The alien response inside the alien warship, Commander Zerathia stood tall on the bridge. A hologram of Earth floated in front of her, glowing softly. Her golden armor shimmered like fire under the lights. She listened to the human message and laughed, a sharp, cold sound that echoed through the hall. "They beg for peace," she said, smirking. "But we did not come for peace." She raised her spear, its plasma edge glowing. "Prepare landing squads, target their defense centers, show these humans their place." The Velara warriors cheered, their voices like thunder. To them, Earth was already lost. But at the far corner of the bridge, Advisor Threx stared silently at the hologram. The unease in his chest grew heavier. Something about this planet didn't feel right. He whispered softly to himself, "They don't know. They have no idea what waits for them." The first encounter. The alien ship descended over a deserted military base on the edge of Nevada. Dust storms swirled as the warship hovered silently above the ground, blocking out the sun like an eclipse. A single landing ramp lowered, and the Velara warriors marched out, tall, armored, and armed with glowing weapons. They moved with the confidence of predators, but then something strange happened. All around them, Earth's defenses stayed silent. No tanks, no soldiers, no shots fired. The warriors exchanged confused looks. Zerathia stepped forward, spear raised, and shouted, in their native tongue, "Humans of Earth, surrender now and you may live." For a moment there was only wind and silence. Then, footsteps. From behind a line of abandoned hangars, a lone human appeared. A man in a black combat uniform, his boots crunching softly against the dry sand. He walked calmly, unarmed, as if he wasn't afraid at all. The alien warriors laughed. "This is their answer?" One mocked. "A single human?" Another scoffed. "He doesn't even carry a weapon," Zerathia said, amused. But Advisor Threx didn't laugh. Something about the man's calmness bothered him. The man named Ryan. The human stopped 20 feet away and looked up at them. His gaze was steady, unshaken. "My name," he said in a low, clear voice, "is Captain Ryan Cole." Zerathia tilted her head, intrigued. "Are you here to beg for your planet?" Ryan smiled faintly. "No, I'm here to warn you." The alien warriors burst into laughter again, their voices echoing through the base. Zerathia raised her spear and stepped closer. "Warn us?" she said, mocking him. "Do you know who we are, human?" Ryan didn't flinch. "Yes," he said simply. "I know exactly who you are." Something shifts. The laughter faded when the air around Ryan began to change. At first it was subtle, a strange vibration in the ground, a soft humming in the air. Then, pebbles near his feet began to float. The sand rippled outward as if pushed by an invisible force. The Velara warriors raised their weapons instinctively. "What is this?" Zarathia demanded. Ryan's voice was calm, but it carried weight like distant thunder. "I told you. I came to warn you. Leave now, or you will regret coming here." For the first time in her life, Zarathia felt uncertain. Her instincts screamed that something was wrong, but her pride was stronger. She thrust her spear forward. "Seize him," she ordered. 3 warriors lunged at Ryan. They never reached him. A shockwave exploded outward, invisible but violent. The warriors were thrown back several meters, their armor sparking, weapons shattering in their hands. Gasps erupted from the Velara ranks. Advisor Threx realizes the truth. Threx stepped forward, his voice trembling. "Commander, it's true," he whispered. "They're not ordinary. Some humans are enhanced." Zarathia glared at him. "Enhanced how?" Threx's voice dropped to almost a whisper. "They call it Project Helios. I read about it in old interstellar archives. Humans learn to unlock their hidden potential. They can bend the laws of physics, change the battlefield. They become something else." Zarathia stared at Ryan, who now stood calmly amid the floating debris, his eyes glowing faintly. This was not the war she had expected. The tension rises. Ryan took a single step forward. The ground cracked beneath his boot. "You think you came here to conquer us," he said softly. "But you made a mistake. A very big one." The Velara warriors tightened their formation, suddenly aware that the prey might actually be the predator. Above them, the alien ship shifted uneasily in the sky. Sensors screamed warnings, detecting unexplained energy spikes surrounding Ryan. Zarathia clenched her jaw, refusing to show fear. "If you are as powerful as you claim, human, prove it." Ryan's faint smile returned. "Oh," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "You'll see soon enough." The unseen power. The desert air was still. Dust hung in the sunlight like tiny sparks. Captain Ryan Cole stood alone, silent, calm. Around him, dozens of Velara warrior women formed a deadly circle, their plasma spears glowing with sharp blue light. High above, the massive alien warship floated like a shadow blocking the sun. The silence was heavy, almost unbearable. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Then Commander Zarathia stepped forward. Her golden armor reflected the harsh desert light, her spear humming with deadly energy. "You are brave, human," she said, her voice cold. "But bravery will not save you." Ryan didn't move. His expression was unreadable. "I told you to leave," he said softly. "You should have listened." The first strike with a roar, 3 Velara warriors charged, moving so fast they became blurs of silver and light. Their weapons cracked the air with heat as they swung at Ryan. But Ryan vanished. The warriors' spears cut through empty space. A shockwave rolled across the sand. A second later, Ryan appeared behind them, calm, hands at his sides. "You're too slow," he said. Before the Velara could react, an invisible force erupted from Ryan's body. It was like gravity itself had turned against them. The 3 warriors were lifted into the air, spinning helplessly before being slammed into the ground so hard the desert shook. Gasps spread through the Velara ranks. Even Zarathia's golden eyes widened slightly. Power beyond science, advisor. Threx stepped forward, his voice trembling as he spoke to his commander. "I told you, Zarathia, this is not normal. This one is different." Zarathia glared at him. "No human should have power like this." Threx shook his head slowly. "They call it Project Helios. I've seen fragments of data in interstellar archives. The humans, they discovered something deep within their DNA, a dormant potential. They learned how to awaken it." "Impossible," Zarathia whispered. "Humans are primitive." "No," Threx said quietly. "They were, but not anymore." Ryan's warning, Ryan's gaze locked on Zarathia. He began walking toward her slowly, each step cracking the ground beneath his boots. "You came here thinking Earth was weak," he said, his voice steady, almost calm. You thought you could conquer us in a single day. But you didn't ask why other invaders disappeared. You didn't wonder why their fleets never returned. He stopped 10 feet away, the air around him rippling faintly, like heat waves rising from asphalt. Go back, he said, while you still can. Zerathia clenched her jaw, refusing to back down. Velara, do not retreat, Ryan sighed softly. Then you'll learn the hard way. The awakening Zerathia raised her spear and barked a single command. Attack! Dozens of Velara warriors lunged forward at once, faster than bullets, deadlier than machines. Plasma spears cut through the air, their blue energy lighting up the desert. Ryan closed his eyes, and everything stopped. The wind froze. Sand hung mid-air. Time itself seemed to hesitate. When Ryan opened his eyes again, they were glowing, not with light, but with something deeper, something impossible. He moved, his hand slightly, and the nearest warriors were thrown back as if hit by an invisible storm. Their weapons shattered in mid-air, their armor bent like paper. Zerathia stared, her confidence cracking. What are you? Ryan looked at her, his voice quiet but sharp as a blade. Human. The hidden threat. But just as the Velara began to regroup, something unexpected happened. The ground trembled beneath their feet. At first, everyone thought it was Ryan's power. But then a deep, hollow roar echoed from far below, shaking the earth violently. Cracks split the desert floor. Advisor Threx's face turned pale. He checked his scanner and his voice broke. This isn't him. This is coming from underground. A pulse of unknown energy shot up from deep beneath the desert, powerful enough to scramble even the Velara's advanced tech. The warship's shields flickered. Ryan's expression hardened. He glanced at the ground, muttering to himself. They woke it up. Zerathia's doubt. For the first time, Zerathia hesitated. She wasn't afraid of Ryan's power. Fear was not in her nature. But the unknown terrified her. What is down there? She demanded. Ryan didn't answer immediately. He turned his head slowly, meeting her gaze. You thought Earth belonged to humans, he said finally. It doesn't. Zerathia frowned. Explain. Ryan's jaw tightened. There's something buried deep under this planet. Something ancient. Something even older than humanity. And you've just woken it up. Before Zerathia could respond, another violent tremor ripped through the desert. An unseen enemy. From the distant cliffs, a massive black structure began to emerge from the ground, smooth, alien, and humming with strange energy. The Velara warriors raised their weapons instinctively, aiming at it, but Ryan stepped forward sharply. Don't, he warned. If you attack it, we're all dead. Advisor Threx swallowed hard. Commander, I think we've made a mistake. Zerathia clenched her fists, her pride battling with rising fear. She had come here to conquer Earth, but now she realized they might not even survive. Clash of worlds. The desert was no longer silent. The ground trembled violently, splitting open with deep cracks as something massive stirred beneath. From the horizon, black dust spiraled into the sky like storm clouds. The alien warship hovered above, its engines roaring like thunder. Captain Ryan Cole stood in the middle of it all, unmoving, his expression calm. But his glowing eyes reflected the chaos around him. Behind him, the abandoned military base shook under the force of the tremors. Structures collapsed. Sirens wailed in the distance. Across from him, Commander Zerathia raised her plasma spear, her golden armor glowing faintly beneath the dusty sunlight. Around her, dozens of Velara warriors tightened their formation, their weapons humming with deadly blue energy. The air between them was thick with tension, like a storm about to break. The commander's fury, Zerathia's voice cut through the rumbling ground, sharp and commanding. You dare threaten the Velara, she roared. I do not care what power you hold, human. Today we break you. Ryan tilted his head slightly, his voice calm and steady. You came here thinking Earth was weak, he said. But this isn't about me. You've woken something, and now none of us are safe. Zarathia's golden eyes burned with pride. "Velara, do not fear," she declared. "We conquer fear." Without another word, she raised her spear high and barked a single command. "Attack!" The storm of blades. In an instant, the Velara warriors charged as one. Their speed was beyond human, a blur of silver armor and glowing energy. Plasma spears tore through the air, leaving trails of heat and light. Ryan stood perfectly still. At the last possible second, he moved. A shockwave erupted around him as his foot touched the ground, cracking the earth beneath. Ryan blurred forward, faster than any eye could follow. He disarmed the first warrior with a single twist of her arm, sending her spear spinning into the air. Another lunged from behind. Ryan spun, catching her weapon mid-strike, and with one effortless motion shattered it into pieces. The Velara were fast. Ryan was faster. But then Zarathia joined the fight. The duel begins. With a roar, Zarathia's spear struck like lightning. Ryan dodged the first blow, but the second cut through his armor, sparks flying. The third thrust came faster than sound. Ryan blocked it with his forearm, sending a ripple of energy outward. Their movements blurred together, too fast for the human eye. Every strike shook the ground. Every clash of weapon against force sent shockwaves ripping across the sand. For the first time, Ryan was pushed back. Zarathia's strength was beyond anything he'd faced before. "You're strong," Ryan admitted, breathing steadily. "But strength alone won't save you." Zarathia's eyes narrowed. "It won't need to." She pressed forward with a flurry of attacks, her plasma spear striking so fast it became a storm of light. Ryan barely kept up, his glowing aura flaring brighter with every counter. The awakening below. Then the ground roared beneath them, a deep, ancient sound, like 1,000 drums echoing from under the earth. Massive cracks tore open in the desert, swallowing rocks and debris whole. From one of the fissures, a black pillar emerged, smooth and alien, glowing faintly with strange symbols. The Velara warriors stopped mid-battle, turning their weapons toward it instinctively. Advisor Threx stared at the pillar in horror. His scanners lit up with unreadable data, streams of alien code flickering violently. "This isn't human tech," he whispered. "It's older, far older than Earth itself." Ryan didn't even look at the pillar. His gaze remained fixed on Zarathia. "I told you," he said quietly. "This planet isn't what you think it is. The unseen enemy." Suddenly, the pillar opened. A low hum filled the air, vibrating in their bones. Shadows spilled out like liquid darkness, writhing across the sand. One Velara warrior screamed as a shadow wrapped around her body, pulling her violently into the fissure. Plasma blasts fired into the darkness, but the shadows swallowed them effortlessly. Panic spread among the Velara ranks. Zarathia shouted orders, trying to regain control, but even she looked unsettled for the first time. Advisor Threx stepped forward, voice trembling. "Commander, we need to leave. Now." But Zarathia refused. "No. We came to claim this world, and we—" She stopped. From the fissure, a massive hand emerged, long, clawed, and black as obsidian. The ground shook harder as the rest of the creature began to rise. Ryan's calm expression finally changed. He closed his eyes, inhaling deeply. The air around him grew heavier, pressing down like gravity itself had multiplied. Energy crackled across his skin, arcs of white light snapping in every direction. The floating debris around him began to spin faster, forming a storm of energy. When he opened his eyes, they blazed like twin suns. He spoke softly, but his voice carried like thunder. "If you want to live, stay behind me." The Velara warriors hesitated, but instinct made them obey. Even Zarathia took a cautious step back. Ryan raised his hand, and a pulse of pure energy erupted outward. The shadows shrieked, an unearthly sound, and recoiled, temporarily. But deep below, the true enemy was still waking up. The hidden truth. The desert had become a war zone. The ground was cracked and burning, black smoke curling into the blood-red sky. The alien warship hovered above like a silent predator. But for the first time since their arrival, the Velara warriors were afraid. Because what rose from beneath the earth was not human, and not alien. A colossal being emerged from the abyss, towering higher than the warship, its obsidian armor reflecting no light. Its eyes burned with pale silver fire, cold and ancient. The air trembled with its presence, a deep vibration that shook bones and silenced voices. Advisor Threx dropped to his knees, his scanner beeping frantically. This is impossible, he whispered, terror in his voice. That's a precursor. Commander Zerathia turned sharply. Explain. Now. Threx's hands trembled as he clutched his scanner. Before the Velara, before the humans, before almost every species we know, there were the precursors. They built worlds, created life, and destroyed entire star systems. Zerathia's golden eyes widened. Why is it here? Threx swallowed hard. Because this was their prison. Ryan's. Revelation. All eyes turned to Captain Ryan Cole, but he didn't move. His glowing gaze was fixed on the massive being, his face calm but his jaw tight. He finally spoke, his voice low and steady. It isn't here by chance. It was sealed beneath this desert, thousands of years ago, long before humans ever walked the earth. Zerathia stared at him, her pride clashing with the weight of his words. How do you know this, human? Ryan turned slowly, meeting her gaze. Because I was trained to stop it. Confusion rippled through the Velara ranks. Even Threx blinked in shock. Ryan raised his hand, and faint threads of energy danced across his skin like white lightning. Project Helios wasn't just about enhancing humans, he said. It was about creating guardians, protectors of Earth, protectors against this. The creature stirs. The precursor let out a deep, resonant growl that rolled across the desert like thunder. Its head tilted slowly, its gaze fixing on Ryan. Then, without warning, it moved. The ground exploded as the colossal being lunged forward faster than its size should allow. A massive clawed hand slammed down where Ryan had been standing, but Ryan vanished in a flash of blinding light. He reappeared midair, landing gracefully on a broken pillar. Energy pulsed around him like a storm contained in human form. The Velara warriors instinctively opened fire. Plasma bolts streaked through the air, striking the creature's armored body, but they simply vanished on impact, absorbed into its shifting black surface. It's adapting, Threx said, his voice shaking. It's learning. Uneasy. Alliance for the first time, Velara pride broke. Zerathia turned to Ryan, her voice sharp but controlled. Human, she said. You know this creature. You know how to fight it. We don't. Ryan glanced at her, his expression unreadable. You came here to conquer us, he said flatly. Now you're asking for my help? Zerathia hesitated, then nodded once. Survival comes first. Pride comes later. Ryan studied her for a long moment before giving a slight nod. Fine, he said. But follow my lead, or we all die. The first strike, Ryan stepped forward, his glowing aura intensifying, sand swirling violently around him. He raised his hand, focusing his energy into a sharp, condensed point. A single pulse of white light shot from his palm, striking the precursor's chest with enough force to flatten a mountain. The impact shook the desert. For a moment, the giant staggered backward, letting out a guttural roar. But then, it began to heal. Its armor shifted and reformed, absorbing the energy entirely. Ryan clenched his fists. As I thought, he muttered, it can't be destroyed. Then how do we kill it? Zerathia demanded. Ryan shook his head. We don't kill it, we seal it, that's the only way. The seal key. Threx's scanner beeped violently. He looked down, eyes widening. Commander, I've found something. He projected a hologram above his wrist, a map of underground tunnels beneath the desert. At its center was a glowing mark, pulsing like a heartbeat. That's the seal core, Threx explained quickly. The ancient device used to imprison this thing. If we power it up again, we can lock it back where it belongs. Ryan nodded slowly. Where's the entrance? Threx pointed to the far cliffs. 2 kilometers east. Ryan turned to Zerathia. Your warriors hold it off. I'll activate the core. Zerathia hesitated, her pride screaming against taking orders from a human, but deep down she knew she had no choice. She raised her spear and barked a command. Velara, cover him. The battle erupts. The precursor roared, its voice shaking. The air like a sonic weapon. Shadows erupted from its body, spiraling into black spears that sliced through the desert. Velara warriors countered with plasma fire, their coordinated assault lighting up the sky in streams of blue and silver. Ryan moved like a phantom, dodging collapsing rocks and raining debris as he sprinted toward the cliffs. Every step cracked the ground beneath his boots, but the creature noticed him. It turned its massive head, its silver eyes locking on him, and a beam of pure energy erupted from its chest, ripping through the battlefield. Ryan dove forward, barely, escaping the blast as the ground behind him vaporized into glass. The twist Ryan finally reached the ancient stone gate beneath the cliffs. Strange runes glowed faintly, pulsing as if alive. He pressed his hand against the cold surface, and suddenly a flood of memories hit him, images of another world, another war. A younger Ryan, standing with other warriors like him facing thousands of precursors in a battle long forgotten. His breathing slowed. His voice dropped to a whisper. I remember now. Ryan wasn't just trained to stop the precursors. He had fought them before, and he had died. Turning the tide. The battlefield burned beneath a blood-red sky. The colossal precursor loomed above them all, towering higher than the alien warship itself. Its obsidian body pulsed with strange silver veins shifting like liquid metal. Its pale eyes glowed brighter than lightning, cold and unfeeling. Every time it moved, the earth groaned beneath its weight. Ryan Cole stood before it, his glowing aura expanding like wildfire. Behind him, Commander Zerathia and her Velara warriors regrouped, their plasma spears raised, golden armor scorched and dented. For the first time since arriving on Earth, the Velara were silent, because they finally understood. This wasn't Earth's war. This wasn't their war. This was a war that had begun before history itself. Ryan knelt at the base of the ancient stone gate, his hand pressed against glowing runes that pulsed beneath his skin. A flood of memories, thousands of years old, surged into his mind like a storm. He saw visions of an older war, entire star systems burning, fleets of ships torn apart like paper, and beings like him, warriors of light, fighting against endless waves of precursors. Ryan whispered under his breath, I've been here before. Then his memories snapped back to the present. He stood, his glowing eyes fixed on the towering creature. He wasn't just enhanced. He wasn't just human. He was reborn. Velara versus Precursor X Zerathia barked commands, her voice sharp and commanding. Velara! Formation Delta. The Velara warriors surged forward as one, their coordinated assault flawless. Blue plasma spears fired in synchronized bursts, lighting up the desert sky with a storm of energy. Explosions tore into the creature's body, sending shards of obsidian armor into the air. For a moment it seemed to work, but the precursor adapted. Its skin shifted like living metal, sealing the wounds instantly. Then it released a wave of gravity, flattening everything around it. Velara warriors were slammed into the ground. Armor cracked, weapons shattered. Zerathia barely managed to stand, her spear glowing brighter than ever. It learns, she hissed. Every strike we make makes it stronger. The first counterattack, the precursor raised its massive arm, and the shadows around it came alive. Spears of pure darkness erupted from the ground, skewering the wreckage of the military base. Ryan, blurred into motion, his energy flaring like a small sun, he grabbed Zerathia and several nearby warriors, pulling them out of harm's way just before a wave of shadow obliterated the sand beneath their feet. This isn't working, Zerathia growled. We can't win. Ryan turned his glowing eyes on her. You're right. We can't fight it. Not like this. The ancient key advisor Threx stumbled toward them, his scanner projecting a holographic map of underground tunnels. The Seal Core. He shouted over the chaos. It's under the gate. We need to reactivate it, and that's the only way to trap it again. Ryan nodded, his jaw tight. Then buy me time. Zerathia hesitated, but then raised her spear and shouted, Velara, protect the human. The last stand. The Velara warriors reformed their ranks, standing shoulder to shoulder with Ryan. Plasma fire streaked through the air, striking the shadows that writhed around the precursor's feet. Explosions shook the battlefield, sand boiling. Under the heat, the precursor retaliated with a sound and a deep resonant pulse that cracked the air like glass. Several warriors collapsed instantly, their armor crushed by invisible pressure. Ryan ignored it all, sprinting toward the seal gate as his aura burned brighter and brighter. The runes beneath his hands blazed with light. Symbols unfolded across the stone, shifting and rearranging like living language. Come on, Ryan muttered through clenched teeth. Wake up. The precursor's true form. The precursor stopped attacking suddenly. Its pale silver eyes locked onto Ryan. And then its body began to change. Armor plates opened like petals, revealing a glowing core of energy deep inside its chest. Its size doubled, its limbs elongating into jagged weapons, its shadow stretching. Across the entire desert, Threx's scanner went wild. This isn't even its final form, he stammered. It's evolving. The Velara's coordinated assault fell apart as panic rippled through their ranks. Zerathia shouted, but even her voice couldn't drown out the inhuman roar that followed. Ryan looked up at the monstrous figure towering above him. For the first time, even he felt the weight of its power. Ryan breaks the limit. The seal gate flared under Ryan's hands, energy rushing into his body like a tidal wave. His aura exploded outward, sending Velara warriors and debris flying back from the sheer force. Above him the cloud spiraled violently, drawn into a vortex of light. Lightning cracked across the blood-red sky, each strike feeding into Ryan's glowing form. Zerathia shielded her eyes, shouting over the storm. What are you doing? Ryan's voice was steady, but his body trembled from the energy coursing through him. I'm unlocking the last protocol. The part of me they tried to erase. Zerathia frowned. What are you talking about? Ryan looked over his shoulder, his glowing gaze locking with hers. I wasn't created to protect humans, he said softly. I was created to protect the seal. The twist of sudden realization spread across Threx's face. No, you're not just enhanced, he said. You're one of them. Ryan didn't deny it. His voice was calm, almost sad. Project Helios didn't give us power. It awoke it. We're not evolution's future. We're its memory. Before Zerathia could respond, the precursor unleashed a beam of pure annihilation directly at them. Ryan stepped forward. He raised his hand and caught it. The blast that could have destroyed an entire city stopped against his palm. Energy crackling violently around him, Ryan's aura flared white-hot, blinding against the dark battlefield. The final revelation. The desert was broken. Flames licked at shattered rocks, smoke spiraled into the dark sky, and the air trembled with the weight of something ancient waking beneath the earth. The colossal precursor still towered above them, its obsidian body shifting and reshaping with every passing second. Its pale silver eyes burned brighter than ever, locked on Ryan Cole, who now stood between it and the ancient seal gate. Behind him, Commander Zerathia and the surviving Velara warriors regrouped, their golden armor scorched, weapons cracked. Even the most fearless among them now watched in silence, because this wasn't just a battle. This was a warning. The earth trembles. The ground shook violently as deep rumbles echoed from below, spreading far beyond the desert. In distant cities, skyscrapers swayed, oceans stirred, volcanoes grumbled awake. Advisor Threx stared at his scanner, eyes wide in disbelief. "This isn't just one," he whispered. "The seal. It's connected to hundreds of chambers beneath Earth's crust. They're all waking up." Zerathia turned sharply. "Hundreds?" Threx swallowed hard, his voice trembling. "Earth isn't a planet. It's a prison." Ryan's glowing eyes dimmed slightly as he turned toward them. His voice was calm, but it carried the weight of countless ages. "They were buried here millions of years ago," he said. "Not by humans, not by Velara, by something older." Zerathia stepped forward, her pride barely masking her curiosity. "And you know this how?" Ryan hesitated for a moment. Then he spoke the words that would change everything. "Because I fought them, not in this life, but in my first one." A stunned silence followed. "I wasn't just part of Project Helios," he continued. "I was its origin. They didn't create me. They reconstructed me. My memories, my essence, all pulled from the remnants of warriors who fought these things eons ago." Threx's eyes widened. "You're not enhanced. You're reborn." Ryan nodded slowly. "I am one of the last guardians of the Eclipsera Protocol, an ancient defense created to stop the precursors when they escaped their prisons." Zerathia clenched her jaw. "Then why didn't your people destroy them?" Ryan's gaze hardened. "Because we couldn't." The precursor speaks. A sudden silence fell across the battlefield. The precursor's body stopped shifting. Its pale, silver eyes locked on Ryan. Then, without warning, a voice echoed inside every mind on the battlefield. Not sound, not language, something deeper. "You cannot seal us again." Zerathia staggered, clutching her head. "It's inside my mind," she hissed. Threx fell to his knees, shaking violently. The Velara warriors screamed as the voice dug deeper into their thoughts. Ryan stood tall, unfazed. "I sealed you once," he said coldly. "I'll do it again." The voice reverberated like thunder. "This world was never yours. It was ours. Earth's." Dark secret. The runes beneath Ryan's feet flared with blinding light. A massive holographic projection burst upward from the gate, displaying a cosmic map unlike anything anyone had seen. Dozens of precursor prisons dotted the galaxy like hidden stars. Earth was just one of them, one of the oldest. Threx's voice broke as he pieced it together. Your species was never meant to rule this planet," he whispered. "You weren't born here. You were placed here. A control species. A failsafe." Zerathia turned sharply to Ryan, golden eyes blazing. "You're telling me humans were engineered to guard these monsters?" Ryan's jaw tightened. "Not just to guard them," he said softly. "To become weapons if the seals ever broke. The last protocol." The precursor roared, shaking the battlefield. Shadows poured from its body like black storms, tearing into the Velara ranks. Warriors screamed as they were pulled into the darkness. Zerathia fought furiously, her spear blazing with golden fire, cutting through waves of shadow. But for every tendril she severed, two more formed. Ryan's voice cut through the chaos. "Get them back," he shouted to Zerathia. "Fall behind the seal." Zerathia hesitated, then obeyed, rallying her remaining warriors. Ryan turned back to the gate, his hands pressed against the glowing runes. Energy surged into him, brighter than ever before, his aura flaring like a miniature sun. Threx's scanner went wild. "You're overloading your neural capacity. You'll burn yourself alive." Ryan ignored him. His voice was low, steady. "If I fall, the seal dies. If the seal dies, we all die." The true enemy, then the precursor, changed again. Its body split apart, revealing an inner core of swirling energy, a vortex of light and shadow. Ryan froze, his expression grim. "That's not a body," he whispered. "That's a gate." Zerathia narrowed her eyes. "A gate to where?" Ryan didn't answer immediately. His voice was almost a whisper when he spoke. "They're not waking up. They're calling the others." The silver glow of the precursor's core flared violently, shooting a beam of light into the sky. Seconds later, distant stars began to shift. Threx's scanner screamed. Multiple signals detected. At least 16 more precursors are moving toward this system. Sarathia cursed under her breath. We came here to conquer a weak world, she growled. Instead, we found hell. Ryan's final stand. Ryan stepped forward, standing between the precursor and the seal. His aura surged brighter than ever, arcs of lightning snapping across his body. He turned his head slightly, addressing Sarathia without looking at her. Get your warriors back to the ship, he said quietly. Sarathia frowned. You're going to fight that thing alone? Ryan's glowing eyes blazed as he looked back at the towering entity. I'm not fighting it, he said. I'm buying you time. Before Sarathia could argue, Ryan launched himself forward, his entire body a streak of white light. He slammed into the precursor's chest, releasing a shockwave so powerful it flattened the sand for miles. The colossal being staggered, roaring in defiance. But Ryan didn't let go. He poured every ounce of his energy into forcing it back toward the fissure. The shadow screamed, the ground cracked. The air burned. For a moment it seemed to work. The twist ending, then everything stopped. The precursor's pale silver eyes shifted and focused directly on Ryan's glowing core. Its voice filled his mind, colder than death itself. You are not their guardian. You are ours. Ryan froze, his expression shattering. What? He whispered. The precursor's core pulsed, synchronizing with Ryan's own aura. His memories flickered, glimpses of his first life, of battles long forgotten, and suddenly, the truth hit him. Project Helios hadn't created guardians, it had reactivated them. He wasn't protecting humanity from the precursors. He was designed to lead them. Ryan's voice trembled as he whispered the impossible. I was one of them. The seal gate beneath him cracked violently, light bursting through the fractures. Energy surged upward like a tidal wave as the precursor's roar shook the stars. The camera pulls back, showing Earth's desert splitting open, the alien warship retreating into orbit. Multiple glowing signals descending from the heavens, Ryan standing in the middle, caught between two destinies. Fade to black. On screen, a single line appears. This is only the beginning.